All right. Welcome. I am attorney James Betzold. Click a couple things here. There we go. There we go. There's been a very important announcement today by President Biden for immigration. On the topic of immigration, there's been a new program announced, and actually, I want to share that with you right now. I just got done doing a bit of a lengthy version of this in Spanish, but we're going to do it nice and succinct here in English. Here's a fact sheet that comes from the White House. It begins by describing the different efforts that the Biden administration has taken to secure the border, to help immigrants, and to dismantle human trafficking and smuggling networks. Now, as part of this announcement, they're announcing a new program. This is called Parole for spouses and children of U.S. citizens. Yes, it's a very limited program. It's going to help a lot of people because there's a lot of people here in the country, but it's not a general amnesty. What we're dealing with here is a situation where if someone is married to a U.S. citizen and they've been living here for 10 years and they're undocumented, so they don't have the green card yet, in a typical immigration process, they would have to go file a family petition and then a provisional waiver, which is now that provisional waiver is taking like 4.5 years. And after that, they would need to go to the U.S. consulate in their home country and get their visa through a process there. This parole program is going to allow them to do all of that here in fewer steps, waiting less time, and the family is going to be able to stay together during this whole period. One of the big downsides to doing a family petition process where you need to go through the consulate now is the extraordinary amount of time that one needs to wait for that to happen. And then there is that family separation, which could potentially last a long time. So for individuals who are otherwise eligible, right? They don't have anything that's going to make them ineligible for a visa, or at least nothing that can't be waived. And again, physically present in the U.S. for 10 years, married to a U.S. citizen, or a child of a U.S. citizen, right? They'll be able to get what's called parole. Now, parole is essentially legal permission to be in the United States temporarily. It constitutes a lawful entry into the United States. So what that means is an individual with parole can typically get a work permit, and they don't have to worry about getting removed or deported. Now, according to the announcement, the program will provide parole status for individuals that will get a 3-year parole. And during that time, they can apply for adjustment of status, or in layman's term, it's the green card application. So instead of having to go all the way down to Ciudad Juarez or all the way down to Ciudad de Guatemala, like Guatemala City, or Tegucigalpa in Honduras, or to San Salvador in El Salvador, now they can do that all here. More of those cases can be handled in the local offices. So this message is coming from Michigan, so here in Detroit or nearby in Chicago, instead of all the way across the hemisphere. So the Biden administration estimates that it will help at least 500,000, so 500,000 individuals meet this category. And this isn't some new, it's not a new reform. It's really the utilization of an existing tool. This parole tool exists in many forms already. And I'll point out that they've not been objected to in other contexts either in the past. Right? So many times, we'll get to the potential controversy that may arise about it and why it's really not controversy. But in summary, someone who's here for 10 years in the United States, they're now married to a U.S. citizen. There's no requirement on how long they've been married to a U.S. citizen, but that they've been here 10 years. Now they're married to a U.S. citizen. They're otherwise eligible to get a visa. When this is finally implemented, they'll be able to obtain a 3-year parole document, and during that time period, they can get their status here in the United States. Huge benefit, especially I've got a number of clients who even just recently have contacted me and said, hey, you know what, my kids, I just really can't afford to leave the country at all right now. Even though my other stuff is approved, I can't leave because my spouse is sick and my kids have these issues, so I got to be here for them. Let's see here. The other part of this announcement has to do with benefits for DACA recipients. Okay, so if you remember the DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, this was a program created exactly 12 years ago today under President Obama. And as that program had continued, it had some ups and downs. It was challenged. The ability of the president to give deferred action through a policy memo was quite severely challenged multiple times, which is why only the people who previously had DACA can continue to renew it. New people who want to apply for it cannot. But this program is done through Parole. Now, those who have DACA and are renewing it, if they've gone to university or college, right, and they've finished a degree, and now they have an offer of employment from a U.S. employer, this announcement is promising to let them more quickly obtain approval for that work visa that they're trying to obtain. So this would be more geared towards individuals who have DACA but never wanted to get married to a U.S. citizen or never had the opportunity, right? But they do have a college degree now, and they have a U.S. employer who wants them to work for them. So this is a pretty great benefit for them as well. I will note it's fairly limited. Not all DACA individuals end up going to college or end up getting a job offer in the field that they've studied for. So there are some limitations on it. But now I just wanted to talk quickly about, well, what are the chances this is just going to be overthrown by a lawsuit? Or, I know that the attorney generals in many states are just not happy with the president, and as a political matter and to aggrandize themselves and make them look better, they want to sue the president, right? Who doesn't, right? As a lawyer, yeah, you get extra brownie points next to your name if you've sued the president. Well, I tell you right now that the authority that the president is using is found under INA 212D. It's an established parole authority that the U.S. and the Immigration Administration has to grant temporary entry and temporary status to individuals. Now, it's been used quite harmoniously for years in a number of contexts. And one I will point out is it has been used to serve the uniformed service members who have family members who are undocumented. And this is something known as military parole or military parole in place. Here's my English language banner. And military parole in place is for individuals who have served in the armed forces or are currently serving, and now they have a family member that they want to regularize their status. So this can happen by making an application to USCIS requesting military parole in place. Not controversial. In fact, it's quite bipartisan effort in Congress that gets renewed frequently to permit this, because we want to take care of those who are taking care of our country and putting their life on the line. So the president's parole authority is found directly in that context, and it's already being used. Now, it's already also being used in another context known as humanitarian parole in place. And let me be clear. We've filed many of these cases and have won many of these cases over the last 15 years. This is not a new tool. It is not a new law. It is not the president just coming up with something and making something based on a policy memo. So in many ways, the creation of this parole program is much stronger than the creation of DACA was. It's going to be subject to criticism for sure. You can turn on Fox News probably and find criticism already, even though they probably haven't even read the memo or read the announcement from the White House. And even though we haven't seen the official implementation of it yet. However, the authority that the president has to do this is fairly unquestioned, and it's already been used multiple times, especially in a humanitarian context where, for example, someone needs to come in to the United States to participate or attend a funeral or obtain medical treatment, or for someone who's here already and they have children who have maybe cancer or a very severe diagnosis of things like cerebral palsy, liver failure, organ failure, that sort of a thing where the parent needs to stay here for the safety and well-being of the child. So it's a parole authority that already exists. And the president is simply specifying that they will now begin approving individuals who required this parole if they're spouses of U.S. citizens or children of U.S. citizens and have lived in the United States for 10 years already. Okay, so I want to open it up to any comments, if there's any comments out there. Actually, we're sort of running out of time. I've got some appointments I have to get to. You can imagine it's going to be quite a busy day with these notices coming out. So in summary, individuals, this is individuals who are spouses or children of U.S. citizens and have lived in the United States for 10 years can become eligible for a 3-year parole document, which typically comes in the form of a work permit, which will allow them to adjust their status here in the United States instead of already being eligible and going outside the U.S. to get it. It's actually been creating a huge burden on the U.S. consulates as well. We've seen wait times for interviews exceed 8 months now, or even more than a year in some cases. Or if you're trying to get a tourist visa, good luck. You might be waiting more than 2 years in certain consulates just to get an interview for that. So I think there's a lot of practical reasons this is a good idea. It's an authority that already exists in the president. It's going to help, I think, more equally distribute the workload among the different organizations that handle immigration petitions. So overall, a very positive thing that we can celebrate here. We are still awaiting the implementation of it. Okay, so this is not something where you can go apply today. It doesn't exist. It's been announced. Now we're waiting on the implementation, and I'll be happy to be providing information and videos on this as we reach different stages of implementation, so we can have more detail and really spread the joy about the announcement today. I'm attorney James Betzold. I've got 15 years of experience handling immigration cases of all types. I'm a practicing attorney here in West Michigan, and I am handling cases for clients anywhere inside the United States and beyond. All right. Feel free to reach out from my office for more information. You can find information at our website. Our website is visafeliz.com. You can also find it at betzoldlaw.com. Have a great day.